Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and today we are going over the top 8 round of the Fukuoka Japan Championships in OP08, looking at the top 8 decks in this one. This is the meta share for anyone who can't read Japanese. The 6 spots, you may have guessed, is Red Purple Law. After getting its 3rd straight CS showing of 10 or more spots in the top 16, 6 are advancing into the top 8, but they're accompanied by 2 decks that are each one in OP07 Rob Lucci and another in OP07 in ST13 Black Yellow Luffy. As you know by the title and thumbnail, we're going to be going over the Black Yellow Luffy versus Law game. I think we haven't seen Black Yellow Luffy yet in the OP08 meta, so this will be very exciting, although I know a lot of you in the comments are really ready to see Rob Lucci. We'll hope to see if Rob Lucci makes it the rest of the way. We'll give a little preview at the end of this video to show what the next decks are in the next video. But for now, we're going to be focusing on this game. After an exciting top 16 that was very, very close, we've now moved into the top 8. Different players, I will say. Neither of these players are ones that we saw in the top 16. Looks like a real stinker of the hand for the Red Purple Law player on the right side, making a couple of faces, very animated in terms of their looking at their hand, and I think both players opting to keep. Yes, both players opting to keep their hands in this. Let's see what they have in their hand to be able to keep. The Black Yellow Luffy matchup is going to be very interesting, and I think Black Maria is going to be very impactful, and I'll explain why here in a second. They do end up having one in hand as well as a Gordon. You see the Trafalgar Law there, which is very nice, the Sachi Penguin, and a Sanji. So the hand is not bad. But with a hand like this, you could see yourself with a small hand node cards of draw. Reiju would have topped that hand off nicely. The Black Yellow Luffy getting a Garp, Flampe, an Emporio Ivankov, a Sabo blocker, and then the Luffy from the starter deck. So also a pretty interesting hand, I feel like, for the Black Luffy side. Not bad at all. That Ivankov going to be a nice touch in the early game along with your Flampe to be able to trash cards from your life to be able to get you down to that 0 if the Law does not swing. But as the Law is going first, they're just going to don and preemptively play the Gordon. The Gordon is going to come down waiting for an opportunity to blow up one of these characters, these 5-cost characters that could be played. And on the 2 Dawn, the Black Yellow Luffy is going to be resting one. I'd imagine that they rest both of them, one for the Flampe and one for the Garp. I would have loved to see the Flampe first just to see what you have, because if you find a piece of there, this change could theoretically be different. We know it is not going to be different because the other cards are not ones that you can grab off of Garp, right? The Hioris, the Geckos, the Ivankovs can't be grabbed off of it, but choosing not to play the Flampe. So very curious in that one. Usually we see a Flampe turn 1 if they have it, but maybe just thinking about counter in hand, maybe thinking, you know what, let's see if they start attacking. If they don't start attacking, we'll go in. And so 3 Dawn now here. The Black Maria more than likely going to be played, I feel like, at this point after this 5k swing at lead. Drawing a Queen, though. The Queen is going to be very, very nice. As I mentioned, the hand was missing a little bit of draw in it, and the Queen fulfills that stage. So going to be taking that life, that 5k swing, getting another Garp, so could be doing some more searching in the next turn. And so I think probably the Red Purple Law is going to be playing the Black Maria here. Black Maria, a very, very good card in general. The only thing that you're worried about overall if you are playing this Black Maria is that the 5-cost Sabo, if the Black Yellow Luffy player is playing that 5-cost Sabo, could get rid of the Black Maria pretty easily, and then you would lose value on that Black Maria Unfortunately for the Black Yellow Luffy player, topping a Gecko, so actually not unfortunately at all, pretty good top deck, I would say. Just not something that you're wanting to see right now at this point. Maybe thinking about playing the Ivankov. The Ivankov, though, is a 4,000 power character, so would force the Gordons or the toy promo laws that we've seen in the plenty of previous tournaments. A Gordon's already on the field, showing itself off to the opponent, so the Black Yellow Luffy does need to be mindful of that. But this 5k swing here is going to connect, going to be a Sanji, a nice 2k counter added to hand, and with 4 done, we're going to be thinking more and more about where we want to go. I think Ivankov Flampe is probably a good play, or Ivankov Garp. They really prioritize the Garp over the Flampe, so we could see that one coming down instead as well. Looking at the hand, though, you have a lot of opportunities for these 5 costs, but the problem with this hand is you don't have any of the babies as of yet, so going to have to be getting some babies here soon. Going to be attaching the 3 Dawn to this Garp and swinging 5, just going a little bit wider overall, trying to get more and more poke damage, trying to get this counter out of the hand for the big turns that you're going to be swinging 9s, 7s, right, with your leader. This 2k counter right here, gonna have 1 Dawn left. Curious if they'll take the Flampe or Garp. Might be something. We know that the Black Maria is not swinging, so maybe they'll eye up the Flampe to grab the cards, because you know you're only going to be expecting 1 this turn, but going to be playing the Garp, doing some searching, valuing that overall, trying to find the little babies, I would assume. Going to be finding a big ace and a big Sabo, but nothing else. Still no babies. And this time, going to be like over 20 cards, I would think, or about 20 cards look through and not a single baby. I believe that this deck plays all 3 of them, the Monkey, the Ace, or I'm sorry, Monkey Day Luffy, the Ace, and then also the Sabo babies, so feels pretty bad not to find any of them. A toy promo law comes into hand. We didn't see a toy promo law in the last round, but a very, very good card that we saw in the last tournament, and how strong it could be, especially for stuff like the mirror match. Going to be going ahead, playing that Queen like I had mentioned about that draw. Going to be getting 2 cards off of this and going to have to be trashing another one. So getting in there, it looks like Black Maria and another toy law promo is grabbed. Thinking about pitching the blocker law maybe, or the toy promo law. It'll be curious to see that toy promo law go away. You got to think about how that is actually probably one of the better options, right? The toy promo law excels in getting the 5,000 power characters, but the characters that are 5 cost, the Sabos, the Luffys, and the Aces, are 6,000 and above. So after using that leader effect and catching 7 cards or more in this player's hand, going to be taking that side 2 off of the effect of the law and grabbing a Luffy and Gecko. Actually 2 huge cards. The Gecko, you may already assume, is a strong card, but that Luffy there, the Luffy is so strong. It has the ability to, when you have 0 life, basically activate for free and get a plus 2,000, putting it at an 8,000 character until the start of your next turn. So especially in facing stuff like the Gordon, right? The Gordon, the promo law, it's going to be really, really hard to be able to get that character off of the field and bottom decked in this matchup. So absolutely strong right there. I mean, a little bit of luck getting the 2 cards that you really wanted, and you still have some in hand. The 5-drop Luffy is fine to go to the bin overall, because with your leader effect, you're going to be able to put it back in life. But with no babies, again, I will just keep saying this, with no babies right at the start of your 6th Dawn turn, you might have to be hard playing these guys. So going to be starting out with a 5k swing. Could just block with the Queen right here. I think they're thinking about the potential rush ace coming in, just, you know, doing their checks and balances to make sure that there's nothing that they can do after getting rid of both of the Garps in the previous turn, and going to be playing that Flampe. The Flampe is going to take a card and draw a card. That 5-drop ace is now activated, being at 2 or less life, and I think that's what is going to come down now at this point. Did find a baby Sabo, so that's going to be really, really nice to get these big Sabos from life and a power boost. Going to be playing that 5-drop Luffy. The 5-drop Luffy, new in OP07, is a good card if you're looking at your pre-releases or opening booster boxes. To be able to use that is going to be activate maining, popping that Black Maria and drawing a card off of it. That's the effect on the Luffy. Pops, I believe, a 5 cost or less on the field, or maybe it's 3 cost or less. I'm trying to look it up for you in this one, but pops the Black Maria. In my opinion, Black Maria, a very easy choice in this one. The Black Maria is so strong. We've seen it time and time again. Pushes this deck over the edge. Nice watch overall, I would say. A nice brand right there. But another Black Maria in hand is going to provide a lot of value if they decide to play this down and continue using that effect to be able to get life again and again. So going to potentially be attaching 1. You'd have 5 left over. Doing some quick math in general, maybe be thinking about playing this Eustace Captain Kid. The Eustace Captain Kid could be very nice in this right now. And the Luffy, by the way, the Egghead Luffy that was played, pops 4 cost or less characters, so my apologies on that one. And the Trigger as well also does 4 or less. So you know the Eustace Captain Kid, if you play this down, is going to be safe, right? So that could be one of the strengths that you see with this deck right here in what the game plan is going to be heading into this turn. So I think playing the Kid probably is one of the better ideas that you can have. If the Sabo comes down and KOs one of your 5 costs or less, I think you just take that, you kind of allow it, because usually if they do play those, they're not in abundance, right? It's very small count because you're already playing the 5 cost blocker Sabos. So going to be countering out of that one after having the Hiyori and I believe 5 blockers Sabo come into hand off of the different effects. So countering out of that one could be swinging with another character. The Black Yellow Luffy doing an interesting job of not allowing any characters to be bottom decked, but that means that the Dawn is continuing to grow for this Law. And so Law playing down that Kid, like I mentioned earlier, if they decide to use leader effect, you're not really worried about the Flampe in terms of swinging. It's a 1000 power character. You would lose 2 Dawn, but you would lose 3 Dawn, but get 1 back for an overall of only losing 2 Dawn. And you would be able to play, I think, the Black Maria to put it down and use that Black Maria effect to get a whole bunch of Dawn back. So getting that active Dawn first through the Eustace Captain Kid, then doing the activate main effect of Black Maria to go up to an astounding 9 Dawn. Right, insane how this deck is going to be able to function, and opting to leave the 2 Dawn up and open. Not going to be swinging with the Queen, not going to be swinging with the Trafalgar Law. Interesting to leave those 2 characters up, really prioritizing just the wall of attackers that you have, or wall of blockers I should say, with the Kid, Queen, and Law. So going into the 8 Dawn turn for the Black Yellow Luffy right here, did get another Egghead Luffy, which could be nice, but I think with that being a 4, you're maybe eyeing up some other potential options in this one. Still at 2 life right now, balancing it out, not getting down to 0 as maybe efficiently as they wanted to, but thinking about playing the Hiyori would allow you to combo with this baby Sabo, right? You could put 2 Dawn now, take 1 of your life, place that 5 cost Sabo on top of the life, and then use the baby to evolve into and establish that blocker while also boosting up your leader a bit. So the problem with this game plan, though, in what you would want to do off that, you need to do a little bit more, because that Gordon is still on the field. If you can find a way to get rid of that Gordon, that would be instrumental to your game plan. But the problem is with the Luffy, right? That egghead Luffy would be able to get rid of that Gordon. That's 5 Dawn right there. You got 2 from the Hiyori and then 2 from the baby Sabo. That's 9 Dawn overall. You don't have a play like that available to you, so you have to choose whether you want to do the egghead Luffy or the Sabo play. Thinking about playing the Ivankov, though, the Ivankov is going to be able to use that effect, take the life right there, opponent asking to read the card in general. You may trash the top or bottom card of your life, reveal 1 5-cost character from your hand, place it face down at the bottom of your life. So thinking at this point, after putting that ace up there, to play the baby ace, I would think. They could also opt to not play the baby ace. One thing that you could do maybe is rest 5 to play the egghead Luffy. The egghead Luffy would get rid of the Gordon, which could be good, especially because the Trafalgar Law player hasn't had a ton in hand overall. But I think you're wondering if you get rid of the Black Maria or the Trafalgar Law blocker instead. The Sabo is going to be the play of choice, though, to draw 5 cards. They've got 3 Dawn left at this point. Going to be a Gecko and another Ivankov, so could trash these 5 costs that they've got in hand here. The maybe Sabo and Luffy. Going to be thinking about pitching the ace. The Ivankov could be what you use for the rest of your Dawn to really build up the wall as well. Establish 3 blockers in this turn. That would be something. Going to be thinking about pitching the ace. They did that for the first one. Maybe not official yet, just putting that there to eye the hand, and putting the Ivankov in there, saying, you know what, the Ivankov isn't going to do me as good as I want it to do, and so pitching that. And with 3 Dawn left, going to be attaching 2 and swinging 7 at lead. Maybe thinking about using leader effect in this turn. The 1 Dawn left could be for the Flampe right there. That would get you to 0 life. And that 7k swing is going to be allowed to go through and take that one. And here comes the Flampe, going to be taking that card and drawing another Amakino and a One Piece Brothers search, the 3 Brothers search right there. 2 good cards. The 2k, very, very nice, because you've been playing a couple of these 2ks. But also a searcher to potentially use to find some of these babies. But is going to be using the leader effect, or considering the leader effect. You do have to pitch a card overall. Thinking about the egghead Luffy. The egghead Luffy, a good option to pitch, because the 5 costs down in the trash are good places for them to be for your leader effect, especially with the egghead trigger, as we mentioned earlier, with it being KOing a 4 cost. Could be nice in KOing the Black Maria, could KO the Law blocker, could KO the Gordon as well. So you really have to think about sequencing now as this red purple Law. And so red purple Law now at 8 Dawn, I believe, exactly matching the black yellow Luffy after using leader effect just about every single turn where they lose 3 Dawn. Insane. And so splitting it up a little bit, some 3 and 4 and a little 1 right there. Thinking about their hand right now, the Toy Law is something that could maybe see play. I don't necessarily feel like that could be a good idea. The pudding you could establish would be very nice as you're trying to find some of these other blockers, especially because you have seen the reveal of the egghead Luffy. You see the reveal of the egghead Luffy. The pudding is going to help you establish more Dawn every single turn. You're going to be able to get 2 Dawn back for every leader effect with the Eustace Captain Kidd and the pudding. So attaching 2 to the leader and swinging 7 right now. The 7k swing, a good number. Going to be forcing 2 cards in hand, and those 2 cards would have to be Hiyori and Sabo, I think, but only 5 cards in hand overall. You could see value in blocking with the Sabo. The block on the Sabo would put it in the trash instead of the discard pile, but is instead going to be getting that life. And so one thing that you do have to remember in the rulings for One Piece and with this Black Yellow Luffy leader is that Face of Life don't have a trigger, or opting maybe not to use the trigger overall. So one thing to note, it does say as per the rules that the face up life cards, when you take them and put them into hand, it does bottom deck the cards. And so here comes another, this one actually an 8K swing, I'm sorry, the 8K swing from the Eustace Captain Kid is going to force two 2Ks if you want to get out of this, the Hiyori and the Makino. Thinking about doing that at this point. Interestingly enough, not using the Sabo to block on that last one, just because you know it's going to get bottom decked right at a certain point. So maybe forcing the bottom decking to happen. Going to be pitching the Makino, I'm sorry, the 7,000 power Luffy because of the baby effect. So only required one 2K counter. And so reminder that the Luffy, because of evolving from the baby Sabo to the big Sabo, is going to be at 7,000 power leader. Now this queen is going to be swinging an 8 as well, and so the 8 as well here could be a Hiyori counter to go to 9 and get out of this swing. But you're going to be left with just so few cards in hand at this point. Going to be a tough one to get out, especially if you continue giving cards instead of using the blocker. But going to be pitching that one for the Hiyori, and then the Gordon going to be bottom decking that Sabo. So your Sabo is going to be going away for sure. And so putting those behind, putting them down, going to be laying down a Sanji because the black or the red purple law is going to be behind on Dawn, and then attaching the 3 and swinging 8. This red purple law player not afraid of losing in the next turn and just wants to continuously apply the pressure. Going to prompt a block, and you'll love to see that if you're the red purple law player. Going to be at all 10 Dawn after that Black Maria effect before going back down to 8. Will be at 10 Dawn to start the next turn. And so now at the 10 Dawn turn, the Black Yellow Luffy has some decisions to make about what they want to do. After top decking that 5-drop Luffy, is going to be nice to be able to continuously counter, but right now, here's the problem. You have 1 life and you don't know how to get rid of it. There are a couple options in here to be able to get rid of it, right? If you attach 2 Dawn to your leader, use the Gecko right there for the rest of the 8 Dawn to bring back the Sabo baby. You're going to be able to establish another Sabo on field, and then after that you could preemptively have another baby down and then use the, actually, have you seen another baby? I actually don't think that the Black Yellow Luffy player, that's the only baby that they've seen, right? The Sabo in general might be searching for a Garp to be able to get that guy. And going to be grabbing a Garp to find specific cards in the deck. Going to be playing that, going to be searching. You're going to have to only survive with a 7,000 power body and 2 Sabos plus, I believe, an ace. Is that the ace there that they're grabbing? It is the baby ace. Finally seeing a couple different babies. Unfortunately, bottom decking 2 Sabos, but going to be picking that one up, using the lead to grab a Sabo off of the life and draw 2 cards, some non-counter in the Brother Searcher, but also another ace baby. So putting the ace down in the trash, and also the Searcher going to be attaching the 2 Dawn and using leader effect, probably getting rid of the Brother Searcher, I would think, right here, because remember, you do have to pitch a card in order to use that leader effect. Going to be thinking about what they want to put in their life. I think probably you could do well with putting a card that you don't necessarily want, right? A card that you're not going to need in this one, and deciding to put the 5-cost Sabo down. So pretty confident that he could potentially survive next turn in this one. And so putting a Sabo and a Luffy in the life, the Luffy at the top. The Luffy more than likely just going to be bottom decked as they swing this 9k at either a character or lead. Either way, I think it's probably going to prompt a life or a KO, regardless of where they decide to go. Could be swinging it at the queen or kid. The kid could be a good option, but thinking about countering out could be almost all your cards. But you would be able to potentially push game in the next turn if you wanted to, especially because you've established that Sanji. So we'll see so many blockers on the field for this red purple law, and deciding to block, maybe keeping the kid alive as the swing of choice. And we move now into a 10 Dawn turn for the red purple law after using leader effect every single turn. And so with 10 Dawn drawing a Sachi and Penguin, Sachi and Penguin's not necessarily going to help you for your game plan, but it is going to provide you some defense if you're not able to hit lethal this turn to be able to survive in your next turn. You do have several blockers and more to provide in the other Sanji in your hand, but every Sanji that you put down is 2k counter lost in your hand. And so remember, the black yellow Luffy is a 7,000 power leader, so you're going to have to swing at least 7s, and they're going to do exactly that right here. Could be pitching the 1k that you've got in hand, the ace, but with no Gecko on the horizon, we may see just this life be taken, or this Luffy. The Luffy probably one of the better options overall, because you can continuously put this in life in comparison to the ace. Going to be attaching 2 more and swinging another 7, this time with the blocker law. So this blocker law going to provide one of 3 options: either pitch the ace that you have and maybe not get another one, could take this life right here, put the life at the bottom, or you could block. The block would allow no cards to be had, and then probably not going to be able to bottom deck the Gecko. Once you usually get to around 7,000 power, it's really tough for these red purple law decks to be able to bottom deck characters of that size. So we'll see exactly where they decide to go. The Sabo would securely get in the trash to be able to potentially play again if you could, but going to be pitching that ace, not going to be doing a power up at this point in the turn unless you find one off of the Brothers Searcher. The ace is going to get to the trash, and another 7k swing coming in with the queen. 7k, just a strong number overall, and with 5 done left at this point in the game, going to be taking that life going to the bottom and attaching 1 more potentially for another swing. 4 Dawn committed to the Black Maria would only be 6,000, so maybe potentially eyeing up establishing a toy promo law, as well as using leader effect to get the Sanji going. That would be 6 characters though, so you would have to get rid of a character, maybe playing over the blocker law at that stage of the game, because you do have to use leader effect to end it. So thinking about how they want to try to get out of this one, trying to run the numbers, crunch the numbers. You're not going to die this turn. That's the good part, right? And so when you're not going to lose the game right here, you're going to have to try to push for game with a couple cards in hand and the no blockers up right now. I would imagine that the Sanji is going to come down. You know the explosiveness of this Luffy deck, and especially if he ends up getting the Gecko Moira off, the Gecko Moira might be able to push them into a 9,000 power leader, but maybe just trying to establish a little bit more. Going to be blocking for that one, and so the block with the leader effect to bottom deck either the Garp or the Flampe. The Garp, a good choice. Going to be 4 and 5 now on the field with the Sanji. Going to be getting one Dawn and attaching the 5 to Black Maria. So using the Dawn that you swung with, excellent sequencing on that red purple law to get that Black Maria a little bit more involved in the play. Going to have one blocker up here, and unless you get rid of this blocker, there's no way that the Black Yellow Luffy is going to be pushing for game if they don't find that rush ace. So the rush ace leaving the field very, very tough. The Flampe more than likely not going to swing anyways, but you do have to consider that as a potential option in some way. Looking at this top 5, they do have a baby ace, maybe going to be eyeing that up, going to be bottom decking another one. I think that's all 4 at this point. So your last opportunity, as well as all 4 of your baby Sabos, I think we saw in that search, going to be attaching to and using leader effect by the looks of it. Going to be pitching the baby Luffy. The baby Luffy is going to the bin to put an ace and another card. Double ace in life right here. I don't know if I would have done double ace, just because if you get another ace for by any means, whatever that may be, with like a top deck gecko, you do want to be able to get that in life. But going to be playing that one down. 3 swings coming in, and I would think that they would want to maybe go around for board, but maybe trying to go for game at this point. Going to be starting out with that 7k swing. Plenty of counter in hand if you want to counter, but with the Sanji here as well, maybe, well, they can't be feinting another baby ace, right? Because they have literally no cards in hand. The cards that you see on the field are the cards that are going to be played in this turn and be swinging. So going to be attaching what looks like 5 to the Flampe and swinging another 6 at the kid. So maybe trying to swing at characters with the rest of this Dawn right now. Going to be a toy promo log. Going to be swinging a 9 with the gecko at the kid to get that guy out, and a 9 at the queen to be getting that guy out. But as they pass the turn with 0 cards in hand, no blockers, all you have to do is just match the number, because face up life go to the bottom of the deck and not the hand. So looks like it's going to be a win for this red purple law player right here. Just needs to be hitting 7s right now. So going to be swinging 7 at lead, going to bottom deck that life, and then the rest of the Dawn attached to the Sanji. Just one, just being respectful to their opponent. Attaching the 1 Dawn, and the red purple law is going to claim the win in this second round of the tournament, the top 8 portion of today's video. Thank you so much for that excellent match. But as always, we're going to look at some sample deck lists of OP08 to see what this could potentially look like. And so again, just like the last video, deck lists are not fully available at the time of this recording, so I'm going to be showing you deck lists that are probably very similar to what was played, because especially with Trafalgar Law is such a strong deck, does have some unique characteristics that you can play with it, but overall is a very similar skeleton in general. So we'll just go over this one real quick. I know I usually go over the loser first of the video, but because red purple law, you've seen it every single video, this is essentially what it is. The skeleton of all of these 4s are staples inside the deck. Usually the Eustace Captain Kidd and Trafalgar Laws are also at 4, especially the Eustace Captain Kidd, but I think wanting to play this Rush Zoro and then the introduction of the Trafalgar Law promo the last couple weeks has bumped these 2 guys down in at least this deck list from the Thailand Grand Asia Open. So excellent job in that video, but let's go over the Black Yellow Luffy list, because honestly that's probably what you came here for. Now again, I don't know if this is the exact list, but it is probably very closely similar in the same vein. With the Black Yellow Luffy, you play several 2Ks in this deck, in 4 of the Flampes, 4 of the Hioris, and 2 of the Makinos. 10 2Ks overall, because one of the things that you saw in that match is the evolution of the baby Sabo, baby Ace, and Baby Luffy from the Goa Kingdom in the ST13 deck gives your leader extra power throughout the turn. So each of these characters right here giving plus 2,000 as from the life you take either the Luffy, the Ace, or another Luffy, I should say, or the Sabo coming in, because with black yellow Luffy you do have black Luffys, black Sabos, and black Aces available to be played in the decks, but your best options for the deck are more than likely these three right here. So excellent job in there. Unfortunately could not get it, didn't find a lot of the babies. I would say definitely a hindrance into the game plan for the black yellow Luffy, but got close in that one, I think, in general. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to preview what the top 4 match is going to be. It is going to be Rob Lucci. So for all of you Rob Lucci lovers, myself included, I know a lot of you have been asking for Rob Lucci videos here on the channel. We're going to be seeing at least one Rob Lucci here in this next one. So let's see if it can overpower the red-purple Law. It could be tough, especially with the Reiju in hand, a Law, Sachi Penguin, Raise Max. This is an incredible hand from the red purple Law, a very good hand. So we'll see if the Rob Lucci can prevail, but we'll find out in the next video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.